mining world,
okay,
as well as, you know, going over into healthcare, because in the world that I work with, everything I'm going to talk to you about is from first-hand personal experience.
okay.
And today we're going to discuss the effect of the geoengineering and the genetic modifications that are taking place in our atmosphere, in our water supply, and in our food. And it's not quite evident that we are in the results. If you were to come into one of our laboratories, or one of our metallurgical laboratories at one of our mining or refining sites, and if you were to come in and you were to say, look, I'm going to put the fluoride and I'm going to put some chlorofluoric compounds into the water and I want you to drink it, and then I'm going to put some of the barium, strontium, and aluminum, and by the way, it's strontium-90, which is a radiological, okay? It comes from nuclear waste, which is not waste at all. Very active for several 100,000 years.
Wait, so you mean the spraying, the actual the radioactive strontium in the chemtrails?
Absolutely, absolutely. We've taken measurements of that, and it is strontium-90, and you see aluminum, barium, strontium-90, these are all refined using fluoride compounds, okay? Now, when you take a fluoride compound like that, and you hook it up with aluminum, mercury, the barium, the strontium, whatever else is in there, it is going to do neurological damage to you. If you're a young person, we're going to call it autism. If you get into a senior citizen area like I am, we're going to call it Alzheimer's. And we're going to call it ADD, ADH, and everything else in between. And you see in our laboratories and the business I've been in for my life, if you were to come in and put these things into the air and tell us we had to breathe it, if we were going to put it into the water and tell us we had to drink it, well, there would probably be about a 300-foot mine shaft somewhere outside that you would find yourself at the bottom of. However, when it's put into our atmosphere, when it's put into our drinking water, when it is a part of our food, for example, using Roundup Ready, which is used up here all the time in the harvesting of wheat, for example, and so many other products. It's used as a desiccant, and this is for seed production. Well, what you're actually getting hit with, and I've spoken about this for several years now, you're getting hit with what is called glyphosate. And there was a study that came out just a couple weeks ago from MIT, which identified glyphosate as one of the main causes of autism. Okay? Now, the glyphosate we have to understand that when it is in the Roundup, or when it is in the chemtrails, or when it is in the water, it has to be in combination with a chlorofluoric compound and a heavy or a soft metal. And those metals are barium, strontium, aluminum. To start with, and we can go all the way up and down the boulevard with what the effects are on us.
Yeah.
But it's quite simple to understand. And when something says harmful or fatal if swallowed, harmful or fatal if you breathe it, okay, and yet that is what through political science is being put into our atmosphere and into our water, then we're going to have the ramifications, and we're going to have all of these problems that we're having to address today.
I would imagine, Richard, that a few people listening right now are just in shock.
Logical. They're laying these out there purportedly, for example, to save us from global warming. Well, nothing could be further from the truth. That's kind of like saying, well, we're going to go ahead and we're going to bomb the village to save it. Some of the reports and YouTube videos, and they were saying that they were dropping one of the ingredients was aluminum. Well, I had done a fair amount of writing and research on the effect of aerosolized chemicals in the nose when you breathe them. And what we knew was that these particles tend to
along the olfactory nerves, which are the smell nerves in the nose, and it travels directly to the part of the brain that has to do with memory and emotions, the hippocampus, the entorhinal area, and the prefrontal cortex, and that you can trace these chemicals traveling along that nerve and depositing in this area of the brain. The other thing that was known is that if you aerosolize aluminum, it's one of the metals that passes very easily along this track and directly into the brain, so it bypasses the blood-brain barrier and goes directly into the brain and accumulates. Well, if you do it in animals, it produces lesions or damage in that area of the brain, and the animals will begin to show changes of memory and learning and emotional changes. When we look at people who have Alzheimer's disease, ironically, the highest concentration of aluminum in the brain is that same entry point, what's called the entorhinal cortex, and the levels continue to accumulate. So we have compelling evidence that aerosolized aluminum alone will enter the brain and produce damage to that critical area of the brain. The worst of all is the nanosize. Now, nanosize means you make it such a small particle that it easily penetrates skin, it penetrates barriers in the body that normally metals cannot pass through. When you nanosize and produce these incredibly small particulate matter, it passes very easily. So when you nanosize aluminum and you use it in these aerosols through the nasal passages, it enters the brain in very high concentrations. And they find that the nanosized aluminum in the brain is infinitely more toxic. Now, one of the toxic reactions to aluminum is intense inflammation and activation of cells in the brain that are the immune cells called microglia. Aluminum is a very potent activator of these immune cells, and that triggers the release of a powerful substance called glutamate, which is an excitotoxin that causes cells to die from an excitatory mechanism. It's kind of a complex mechanism, but it is a combination of inflammation and excitotoxicity. And I coined the term in the medical literature called immunoexcitotoxicity to describe that process. So we know that occurs. We know it occurs very easily now. The reports are coming out now that what they're spraying is nanosized aluminum, and the idea is the concept of preventing global warming. And they nanosize the aluminum so it'll stay in the upper atmosphere longer, supposedly as a reflective compound, metal. The problem with that, even from a climatological